The Greater Prince William County Climate Action Network Environmental and Social Justice Candidate Forum was recently held at the Ferlazzo Building in Woodbridge.
Communities of color and low-income communities in the United States and around the world are disproportionately affected by environmental injustice, including the worsening of climate change. And that is why, a couple of months ago, we have invited all candidates, we invited every candidate running for Virginia General Assembly seats, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, to share with us what they envision as remedies to the threats we're faced with today.
Tiziana Bottino is the founder of the organization and says when voters go to the polls, they need to know which candidate will best serve their needs.
It's very important that people understand how much is at stake and how much our legislator in the General Assembly can do to improve our air quality, water quality, the social justice aspect of our life, how much they can do, and that we need to pay attention.
All 100 seats in the Virginia House of Delegates are up for election. The 2019 election will be held on November 5th. Evelyn Grumar served as the moderator for the candidate forum.
This year is the 50th anniversary of Stonewall riots. It was the first movement of the LGBTQ to gain equal opportunity to have rights. And yesterday, Princeton County passed LGBTQ Pride Month for the second time.
2 years ago, with your vote, you were able to give voice to the voiceless, many communities who were not represented. We increased the numbers of female legislators. We were able to give a voice to immigrants in this community. You gave a voice to mothers who were told before that they couldn't run for office.
Elizabeth Guzman is the incumbent delegate for the 31st District. She talked to me about her achievements.
Despite being on the minority, we're very proud of our accomplishments. During the first 2 years, we were able to increase teacher salaries for 2 years in a row. We were able to put forward some criminal justice reform. We invested millions of dollars in public transportation, and we passed Medicaid expansion that has provided health insurance at least to close to 300,000 Virginians right now.
The idea here is that we are arguing about the timetable, about what's too soon, what's not. This was a compromise solution that was floated by Delegate Rasul after a lot of feedback on his original bill, saying, oh, it's too soon, 2030 is too soon. It's just everything was too soon. He floated this. They wanted to give us a vote on that floor substitute. And instead, what happened is you saw partisan games on the taxpayers' dime and the taxpayers' time on the House floor, taking precedent over us having a substantial debate about our renewable energy portfolio.
Danica Rome is the incumbent of the 13th Delegate District. She told me why she took part in the forum.
Number one, to talk about my platform and to talk about my record, especially on environmental issues and especially on issues of justice. And at the same time, I wanted people to know about my priorities for going into 2020 and 2021, including my work that I'm going to continue to do on fixing Route 28. And I also wanted to make sure that we were talking about issues that deal with our quality of life. And so in Western Prince William County, between Haymarket and Gainesville, that deals with fighting Dominion over the transmission line that they were trying to use to link up to Amazon when the SEC had never determined that Amazon had presented adequate need for it in the first place.
Hala Ayala is the incumbent of District 51. She said she met opposition working to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed.
I was proud to champion that as a chief co-patron with Delegate Carol Foy. Women deserve equality under the law by enshrining us in the Constitution. When we're making less than $1 to our male counterparts, when a white woman makes 79 cents an hour, when an African American woman makes 69 cents an hour, and a Latina makes 59 cents on the dollar per hour, then you've got to understand that's not equality or justice for all. It's only for some. And so as we championed this bill, for the first time, I put in a rule change and brought this bill to the floor in the 42 years that it's been introduced in the House of Delegates. We got a vote on it. It died with a vote of 50-50. We almost got it by one vote.
She says it's imperative that all races are represented in the General Assembly.
It was the proudest day of my life to be sworn in as two first Latinas with my colleague here, Jennifer, listen to me, Danica and Jennifer Carroll Foy, Lee Carter, and all of us that put so much skin in the game to be here.
All of the panel guests are Democrats, with the exception of Jasmine Moawad-Barrientos. She was the only independent candidate on the panel. She is seeking the state Senate seat for District 13 and says climate change should not be ignored.
Our children and ourselves are getting sick. Our water, we have the right to have a clean water. We have the right to have a clean air. I am a mother, and I don't want to have my kids getting sick. I think none of us want that. I came here to this country looking for the dream, and I want to make sure that America is that dream.
She spoke out about renewable energy.
We have to increase it. We have it 15% by 2025. That's not enough. And we have a comparison with Washington, D.C. that is going to reach 100% by 2032. And we have Maryland that is going to reach 25% by the same time, 2020. So it's not enough.
Qasim Rashid is running for the Virginia Senate seat in District 28.
I realize that the struggles of people today are even more difficult. My opponent, unfortunately, over the last 12 years has done nothing to advance progressive initiatives. He's voted against the ERA, voted against Medicaid expansion. He opposes SNAP and TANF for former felons who have paid their debt to society.
He says his skills working as an attorney will be valuable in serving others.
I'm running because I believe that my years of experience as a human rights lawyer, fighting for women who are survivors of domestic and sexual violence, advancing healthcare and education initiatives, working to reform the criminal justice system, I believe that advocacy needs to be made into policy. My promise to you is that you don't need to guess what I'll do as a legislator, because you can look at my record over the last decade and know that I'm a person who has dedicated my life to serving my community. That, I believe, is the purpose of my existence, to serve those around me.
Lee Carter is the 50th district delegate incumbent.
For the last 2 years that I've been in Richmond, I have fought tirelessly to make sure that Virginia is the kind of place where everyone can live and work and not have to worry about how they're going to put food on the table, make their rent, put their kids through college, or see a doctor. I am seeking re-election to get 2 more years to continue that fight, because I'm not going to stop fighting until the Commonwealth of Virginia is truly a commonwealth, till it's a place where wealth is well and truly common, and everyone has that kind of basic economic freedom.
He told the crowd clean energy is one of his major concerns.
I grew up in a small town on the coast of North Carolina where the average elevation is 8 feet above sea level. And today, that town, Elizabeth City, North Carolina, experiences flooding about 10 times more frequently than it did when I was a child just 20 years ago. And this is a crisis that is accelerating at an exponential rate. It's a crisis that we must deal with immediately. We have to be swift, we have to be forceful in our action, and we have to end the era of fossil fuels in Virginia and transition to a carbon-free economy.
Dan Helmer is a delegate candidate vying for the District 40th seat.
I believe we deserve representation that's going to put our community first, that's going to fight to make sure we get adequate transportation solutions, to fund our schools, and to make sure we pass responsible laws that prevent tragedies like what happened in Virginia Beach. On Tuesday, Visa held a $5,000 per host fundraiser for my opponent, who's the Republican caucus chair. In fact, they and a number of other corporations who claim to have cut ties with the NRA have been bankrolling his ascent within the Republican caucus. And he's used that power to make sure that not a single piece of meaningful gun legislation passes in Virginia. In fact, voting for crazy laws like making it easy to buy a bazooka or machine gun in our Commonwealth. And so I've called on these corporate donors to demand their money back, to get a refund, and to send that money to the families of victims of gun violence, what happened in Virginia Beach. Because when you're funding a guy like my opponent, you're actually subsidizing dangerous gun laws in our Commonwealth.
In Woodbridge, Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.